What's up guys, it's Will back again, and today's review is Going in Style. Going in Style is a comedy film that was directed by our beloved JD, Zach Braff, and is a remake of the 1979 film of the same name. Well, this 2017 version of Going in Style follows three lifelong friends played by Michael Caine, Morgan Freeman, and Arkin, and these three men are all going through some financial difficulties due to reasons that mostly have to do with corporate greed, with the main focus on banks. After Michael Caine's character Joe witnesses a bank robbery, he comes up with the brilliant idea to rob a bank himself and convinces his two friends Willie and Albert to join him, and the rest of the film is spent watching these three old friends train in order to rob a bank, attempt to get their financial situations back on track, and of course stick it to the man. Okay, so if you saw the trailer for this film, then you would know that if you, for whatever reason like me, decided to go see this one in theaters, that you should go in with absolutely no expectation of this actually being a good movie, because usually if you do that, you might just walk out of the theater saying, it wasn't so bad, I never expected it to be good anyway. But you know what? Crazy enough, that's what I did, because I went in expecting a complete disaster, and that's what I got, and then some. This is one of the worst movies I think I've seen. It's gotta be the worst one I've seen in 2017 thus far. I mean, the only thing that I can say that this film does well is casting, and the three leads doing as much as they absolutely can with some of the worst material I've ever seen put to film. I mean, this movie is feel-good, thoughtless, cheesy, cliche nonsense with some of the weakest and safest writing ever. There is nothing about this film that feels memorable in a positive way. It's just all downhill straight from the get-go. And these three fantastic actors do as much as they can with quite possibly the three most generic and bland characters that I've ever seen lead a movie. There's just not much here to work with to really make these characters all that interesting, and they have to be interesting because the film asks you to invest your time in their journey as aspiring bank robbers. I mean, they try to introduce family elements and backstory to the characters to add depth to them and have you agree with their justification that they need to rob this bank, but ultimately none of it ever feels cohesive or unique enough to really amount to much. Hell, these three don't even feel like that good of friends to me. I enjoyed the actors' performances overall, but the chemistry between them was often lacking. I mean, these are supposed to be three lifelong, basically inseparable friends, and they just never feel like they're that close. It's super awkward most of the time because they spend a lot of time together, but the relationship seems very superficial and like it takes place in a 70s TV show or something, which makes sense considering the original movie was in the late 70s, but it's 2017. I mean, you need to re-envision this content for a modern audience. But something I will say is that while this film had a roughly $25 million budget, I think it really will only appeal to one audience, and that's the elderly crowd. This may sound bad, but I'd be very, very shocked if anyone below the age of like 70 really loved this movie, because the jokes, the incredibly cheesy and corny dialogue, and the story itself is all as feel-good, formulaic, and contrived as you could possibly imagine. Think of the weakest and most formulaic story that you know, and then double that cheese and formulaicness. That's 2017 Going in Style. I mean, I gotta say, I think I laughed one time, and it was in that scene that you probably saw in the trailer, if you watched the trailer that is, where the three friends try to steal some stuff from a grocery store and get caught. That's like the only funny scene in this film, and what is first and foremost a comedy film. Every other joke throughout the rest of this movie's runtime are old geezer jokes that grow tiresome very quickly. I mean, it's redundancy at its finest, and they just keep beating you over the head with this old man humor that will only appeal to older people. It won't work for basically anyone else, and that's a huge problem. And really, let me just make a PSA for everyone out there who may or may not have seen this movie. Slight spoiler warning here, but not really. Robbing a bank is not nearly as easy as the characters in this movie make it look. I mean, I don't even consider this a spoiler because you know that they at least try to rob the bank and get pretty far in the process of doing so you at least know that these old, like 70-year-old, inexperienced men make the execution of robbing a bank look like child's play. So then when the authorities get on their trail, even the way they consider them suspects at all is super flimsy and would never hold up in court. It's a way of forcefully escalating the drama and the plot itself, and you have to jump through logic hula hoops to make it all work in your brain. It's just crazy. But overall, I expected Going in Style to be a complete disaster, and it was, and then some. I did think it had a talented cast who all deliver some okay performances, but that's it for the pros. As for the cons, I thought the film had an incredibly formulaic and overloaded feel-good story, some extremely cheesy and poorly written dialogue, some laughably bad attempts at comedy, and the blandest and most forgettable characters ever. I'm gonna give Going in Style a 3 out of 10, and definitely recommend you pass on this one in theaters unless you are absolutely desperate to see the three lead actors together on screen and you want to take your grandmother or something. I don't know. So did you guys see Going in Style yet? What did you think of it? If so, I'm sorry. Let's support each other in our collectively greatest time of need. And if you haven't seen it, let me know whether you plan to join in on this experience or not. And also make sure to let me know your favorite heist film. Hopefully this one isn't it, but you never know. That's all for now though. This is WillFoxification signing off. See you in the next review.